Welcome to the Behind the Bits podcast. Your host, Scott Curtis, wants to learn everything he can about stand-up comedy and take you along for the ride. Scott and his guests talk serious about comedy in every episode. Behind the Bits will uncover knowledge from different perspectives on subjects such as writing and performing stand-up comedy, as well as booking shows and the comedy life. If you're thinking about becoming a stand-up comic, already in the comic game, or a comedy nerd, Behind the Bits is the show for you. Now, let's get Behind the Bits.
Hey, BTB buddies, I wanted to let you know that I have a Patreon page now so that you can support the show. Check out patreon.com/BTBPC and check out the cool stuff you can get for as little as $2 per month. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks, as always, for listening. All right, we're live. It's Behind the Bits, and I'm live on YouTube and Facebook with Joanne Filan. How you doing, Joanne?
Hey, Scott. I'm excited to be here. I'm doing great. That's a lie. I'm not doing great. Who is doing great? No
Everything sucks right now.
Yes, exactly. I should not start off with a lie. That's probably bad.
At least you got somebody to talk to for a little while.
Yeah, that's true. It's nice. It's nice. It's excellent.
Yeah. Now you're East Coast comic, correct?
Yes. I am from New Jersey. Perform a lot in New York, though, too. So,
Okay,
yeah.
Great. So, Joanne, when did you start doing comedy?
I think it was, it's funny. I always forget, and then time just flies by and years go by. And I think it's somewhere in the 15 year range. Okay. That I've been doing it, I think.
So would it offend you if I asked you how old you were when you started then, since you're putting years to it?
Oh, that makes it, there's a lot of math involved.
Yeah.
And I've already used up my lie at the beginning of the thing. So.
Okay. But you weren't 16 when you started, obviously.
No, I was not.
Okay.
I was absolutely not. No,
okay.
I wish I had started earlier. Of course, would have been nice. But,
I feel like when I talk to people who started comedy a little bit later, I feel like that you get a little bit of a jump start because you're not so full of yourself when you start because you've already been through that.
And that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about comedy and your influences, obviously you must have thought about it for a while before you did it. What influenced you to want to do comedy, and which comics were the ones that made you want to be like them?
It's good. Good question. I think one of the reasons I want to do comedy is just always enjoy making people laugh. But as far as like influences, not even just in stand-up, but in comedy, I always enjoyed watching Carol Burnett, the Carol Burnett Show. It's not stand-up, but it just so hilarious.
I absolutely love that show.
Yeah, no, and she's just, everyone on it was so great. Tim Conway, Harvey Korman, all of those. When I was little watching them, that was just so funny, and I can still watch it now. Yeah. So always a good influence, and then even like Bob Newhart. I've always been a big fan of his. I have an album, one of his, oh my God, which album do I have? I think his first comedy album.
Is it the Button Down comic?
The Unbuttoned Down Mind? God,
it's something.
I looked at,
Buttons in there. I know that.
Yeah. Buttoned Down Mind, something like that. But yeah, so he was a big influence in my thoughts of comedy. And then of course, people Robin Williams is always a good, Joan Rivers, any of the Chris Rock, so many. But overall, like way back when I was little, watching the Carol Burnett shows, one of the big influences in my thoughts on comedy.
What was it that made the push to get you on stage? You obviously have to have a first time. And what was it that made you get up on that stage the first time?
It's one of those things that it's just people would say, oh, you're funny, you should do comedy years, or, oh, whatever. And then one point I just was like, hey, you know what? I think I'll do it. And I like taking classes. For some reason, I would take random classes online or whatever, adult education classes when they have them and stuff like that. And so I took a class in New York, in the city, which there's 7 million classes that you can take. But I took one of those, and it was like 6 or 8 weeks. And then we had a graduation show at Caroline's. It was big, big deal on Broadway. And and I did my 5 minutes in front of my friends and family and people that had to laugh, essentially. And that was it. That's how I got hooked.
Who taught that class?
It was Steve Field.
Yeah.
Rosenfield. Yes, Steve Rosenfield. It was the American Comedy Institute.
Have you read his book?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I actually, I got it as an Audible book.
Oh.
I can't remember the title. It's Steve Rosenfield, and I can't remember the title to save my life, but there was so much.
Down minds.
Yeah. Button something.
With buttons.
Button up your comedy,
Right.
There was so much good stuff in there. The only thing that I didn't agree with was how he wanted you to plan your crowd work. And he may have taught that. He has a whole chapter on planning your crowd work and getting them to say what you want them to say so you can respond in the way you want to respond.
That's interesting. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Never thought about it that way.
Yeah. It's really good. The only thing is if you get the Audible book, you have to increase the speed by 1.25 because he talks extremely slow. He's narrating it himself.
Yeah. We don't have time for this. Yeah. Speed it up. Thank goodness for that.
So I sped it up, and he sounded like he was just yammering along, and I got everything I needed.
Excellent. Yeah, I do that with so many podcasts. I'm just like, no, you guys are just, no, I don't have time. My attention span has long since gone.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of people take that class and classes like that. There's ones in Chicago and ones in LA where you can do that and you do your graduation set. How many of the people that were in that class with you, if you were to guess, how many of them actually went on to do stand-up comedy after that?
As far as I know specifically, I know 2 people that were in the class that still do comedy. And I know them still. One is he's still in New York, and the other one lives in Texas now. But both of them are still doing it, give or take a couple of years off or something like that, but they're still doing it. And as far as the other people, I have no idea.
Yeah. And I know a lot of folks, it's either a bucket list thing or they want to get better at public speaking and things like that. Their intentions are not to be a stand-up comic, but they go through that class because everything you learn in a class like that translates to just about everything you do in life. So you might as well take it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. There's something you'd be able to use.
Yeah. Thinking about, this is a new one for the rapid round.
Oh, okay.
I'm always interested in what people are reading, music they're listening to, podcasts they're listening to. Is there anything that has, obviously we've got a little bit more time now. Is there anything that you're into right now that has really sparked a light bulb, changed your life a little bit?
I listen to a lot of podcasts, of course, a lot of comics podcasts, which has been definitely interesting because right now I feel like comics are doing their best to do different things. There's one, Jessica Kirson. Have you heard of Jessica Kirson?
Yeah, I've been approaching her for my podcast, and so far I'm getting shot down. So
she's got a lot going on. She does always, and she is hilarious and she's an amazing comic and an amazing woman. Always been very supportive and just an amazing person. But her podcast is, although it is talking with other comics, but it's also has almost like a therapeutic side to it too.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I've been enjoying listening to that. I'm listening to also Alan Alda has a podcast. Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
Clear and
the science podcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting about communication and stuff like that. So I've learned a lot from that too. It's been enjoyable. Those two podcasts. And then as far as reading, I don't know if I've read a lot lately. I can't keep my mind quiet now enough to sit down and actually read printed words.
Right.
But yeah.
That's
doing
great.
What I
and
can.
the funny thing is you mentioned a couple podcasts. I actually can just what Jessica is doing with hers, I particularly like because she's exploring her own issues.
Yes.
And doing that with somebody so that they can explore their own issues. And you're right. It's very therapeutic. And I don't think there's very many of the episodes that I've listened to that don't have something that click with me, you know?
Right. I know. Exactly. I feel the same way.
We don't all experience all of it, but there's something there, the parent issues and the depression and all that kind of stuff. Stuff clicks with you, and it's nice. Sometimes it's just nice to know that somebody's going through it. Somebody else is going through it, and they're coming out of it, and they're as okay as somebody can be in this world today. Yeah.
and the things you think about, insecurities and stuff like that everybody has them, and especially as a comic, to watch another comic who I know to be an amazing comic, hilarious, just kills every time she's on stage. And she still has the same kind of insecurities. Yep. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah, that's really nice to see.
Yeah.
So the last question for the rapid round, what comedy album or special would you consider to be your all-time favorite?
As far as comedy albums, the Button Down Mind of Bob Newhart, because that's really the only comedy album I have. Yeah, I think it is the Button Down Mind. That is, I love that one. Specials. I've enjoyed a number of specials from Ellen DeGeneres, some of her older ones. Also, there's one that I really enjoyed that I saw on Netflix, Sarah Silverman's Speck of Dust, I think it's called. I watched that. I think I've watched that a couple times. Okay. And I've definitely enjoyed that. As well as Wanda Sykes has a good one on Netflix too. Yeah. Don't know the name of it, but those are the ones that I think are up there on my list.
Great. So for the people who are watching live, where can they find your website, your social media, all the stuff that you're doing?
They can find my website is upstreamcomedy.com or joannefilan.com. Both will take you to the same place. And on social media, I think Instagram, Twitter, I'm at Joanne Filan, and Joanne Filan Comedy, I think, on Facebook. And I think that's where I am. I haven't ventured into TikToking or whatever.
I wrote a joke about that. I've got a bit, because I don't have it either.
Good. You got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, no doubt. So if you're watching now, Joanne and I are going to talk to ourselves for a while, and you can't watch anymore, but you can subscribe to the Behind the Bits podcast on all the podcast apps. It's on Apple, Android, any podcast app. I've put myself on it, so it's easy to find, or you can go to my website. It's thebtbpc.com, thebtbpc.com. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to the podcast to hear more. Thank you. Okay, now we can talk.
Oh, excellent. That's interesting. It's
I think the other thing about these streaming apps is bandwidth is always an issue. And the streaming, the video, the audio, I think all of that plays into my audio sucking. So once I get off there, we actually both sound better in my headphones.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about starting up. I did a thing on Thursday nights called the Internet Talk Show.
Oh,
and
okay.
I streamed that live, the whole thing. And I stole it from what Ian Bagg's doing. It's almost a direct ripoff of Ian Bagg's, the thing he does at 9:00 every night. And I just have 3 or 4 guests on, and I've got a format. I turn into Dean Martin for part of it. And, and it's just weird, wild, and funny instead of all the serious stuff we talk about. So I'm thinking about bringing it back, but I have to manage my work life, my married life, and this life, and make sure all of them work. And right now I'm doing some later in the evening podcasts, and I don't want to totally keep my wife out of our life because she's still going to work every day.
Oh, yeah.
So thinking about comedy, going up for your first time, and obviously it clicked with you. Did you come up with some sort of a plan after that? Did you say, I'm just going to hit a bunch of open mics? What was your reaction to that first one at Gotham?
I think what I did was actually after the show, the comic that was the host of our show told me he had connected with the class. He had a bringer show, which you guys have bringer shows out there?
No, we're not big enough, but I know what they are. Chicago has some.
It's a very controversial topic, but when I started, that was a great way to get stage time, whether I was considered as being used. I don't know. I don't care. It got me stage time. And so he had a bringer show and basically asked me to try to sign up for it and do it. So I started doing that one as much as I could until I now eventually have no friends. Basically, is what happens with that. There's only so many times.
No more comedy.
Watch you. Yeah, I don't want to. That people would not talk to me. Hey, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not busy. No, I'm not asking you about a show. I swear. But so I did a lot of bringer shows for a while. And then there's some open mics and stuff like that. I really didn't have a plan. I just knew that I wanted to keep doing it. And so I would write and do the bringer shows, do some open mics. I've never been really good with open mics. I did them more when I was first starting out. But as time went on, I just never felt like they were helpful to me. I don't know if you open mic type person. Some people swear by them.
I do them, but I don't feel like I get a whole lot of growth from them. It's more just so I can see my friends.
It's a good social kind of situation too.
Yeah, and when there's actually something I really want to say through in front of people other than my wife or the computer or whatever, and get a reaction, it's okay for that. And open mic reactions are definitely different than when you're doing an actual show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you get a chuckle at an open mic, you might have something.
Yeah. Sometimes, and then sometimes you're just like, oh, these people are all just waiting to go up.
Yep.
They have no idea I'm here.
Looking at their notebooks. Yeah.
Yeah, which I did myself. So it's just the same kind of thing. But so sadly, it's so different, I think, for everybody, how it works best for people. That's how I met John Poveromo, must have been a bringer show at Gotham. And we met and we ended up commiserating with how we did not fit in with the other comics.
Yeah.
So, because we didn't talk shop, we didn't talk comedy. It's good.
So you've got, I've watched quite a few of your clips. You've got an easy style. You're not like an in-your-face type comic, and it's a lot of self-reflection and observation and stuff like that. Did that come to you fairly early, or did you start out trying to do the one-liner stuff, or how did that work for you?
That, I think, I got a cat in the background. Cats,
I see the tail.
Obviously. Yeah. I think I tried to see what the different ways, one-liners and all of that. But I think, eventually it did just come around because I'm not extremely different than my stage persona. So it just kind of came naturally to be that way. I don't think I'm a very in your face kind of person in general. So it's just how it came out. And some people obviously are hugely different than their stage persona and stuff. And thank God.
Yeah.
Because some people are just assholes.
Yeah.
I mean, think back to like Lewis Black, that would be scary as hell if that's the way he was like off stage.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. And he's a sweetheart off stage. Though. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But hilarious. Yeah. So yeah, it just came fairly naturally and fairly early on.
Yeah.
I used to wonder if there was, because people they would say you have to find your persona. You just got to keep trying things out and it just nothing ever clicked as to being anything different, than myself.
Yeah.
So
that's great that you found it early.
Yeah, I think, unless I still haven't found it, which could be as well. I don't know.
So, I liked what I saw, so I think you're doing okay.
Thanks.
So you're doing the bringer shows, and you meet John, and you're obviously working on getting some paid gigs. Tell me about your first paid gig. How many minutes did you do? What was it like?
Okay, let me think now. What was my first paid gig? I've done some early on. I think I did. As far as technically paid, I would get paid to be an MC, I guess, first and foremost. That would be like my first foray into getting paid almost like on a regular basis. But that would be mainly in New York City. So it would be because there's so many shows in the city and so many clubs. So you could get to know a lot of different clubs and get to be known at a lot of different clubs so that you could get on a roster to be booked to MC regularly, or even obviously just do guest spots and stuff like that. But I guess as far as actually being paid as an MC, that would probably, I guess, be my first being paid.
Did you do the MCing for a while?
Yeah, I still do in the city a lot because I enjoy it, and it's different because it helps. I think it helps a lot to MC for when I go to do shows like out on the road, as far as crowd work and just working with different situations. Being an MC, you have to be able to go with the flow and react to the different types of crowds. You can get a lot of different types of crowds in the city, depending on, what club you're at and stuff like that.
The MC is really the hardest job of any of them up there. It's because you got to let the crowd say their stuff, because there's always a few people in the crowd that want to talk and get that out. So your feature and headliner don't get heckled, and you got to do the birthdays and the anniversaries, and then try to get a few jokes in there and get them warmed up and ready to go. And it's really challenging. And I've seen some people who are very good at it, and I really respect that when you can do that. I
agree. I definitely, it used to be like long time ago where the more experienced you would be the more experienced comics would be the MCs, and not the way it is now in a lot of cases where when you're newer, you start MCing, which I agree more with the way it used to be, because like you said, it's a very difficult position, because you're not just doing your set, and half the time you're barely doing a set, you're warming them up, you're getting them into it, getting it ready for the other comics. So it's not even so much a job to be funny, but as make it so that the other comics can be funny, and you're setting a tone. And I totally agree with the thought of having an experienced MC versus the newbies. Give the newbies
5 minutes, 7 minutes, or whatever, right after the MC,
Right.
whatever that is. But the clubs that I see that have either a full-time MC or a rotating pool of MCs, those are the ones that I feel like they care about the show a little bit more,
Right.
and the show seems to just flow better right from the beginning.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been there where you go to a club that has brand new comics on as MCs, and they'll just get up and they'll just do their material, and then you go to get up, and now I'm like, okay, now I have to warm up the crowd
Yeah.
because you did nothing.
Yep.
And so like now I am in the middle of the show MC.
Uh-huh.
So, but it's a learning experience.
So when you started out and compared to now writing, obviously you're taking personal experience and observations onto your set. How did you take, and some of the stuff that you talk about isn't the best stuff in the world. You had some things happen to you, and you talk about the getting off your meds and stuff like that, and weaning off of it and stuff like that. How did you take those and put them on paper and make it funny?
I just started thinking about just my own experiences, because I've always been with a class and stuff like that. Always been taught that the best stuff you can write is the best source of material is your own experiences, because nobody is going to have the same experiences, the same exact experiences. Sure, there's some overlap and stuff like that, but as long as it's personal to you, it's not going to be the same exact as some other comics. You want to have something new and different and interesting, but still relatable, obviously. So it just started when you first start. There's so much you can write about.
Yeah.
After years go by, it's okay. What haven't I talked about?
Yeah.
So.
Do you have a writing routine, or do you just write stuff down as it comes? How do you get your material?
I try to make a routine, but then obviously I go through writer's block and dry spells and stuff like that. And there's some exercises I try to do to help with that, or we get another comic and do some writing together, bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
And when me and John would be on the road, we could do that too. And we'll watch each other's sets. And if something, I think of some kind of tag for something of his, or he thinks of a tag for some of mine, and we'll write it down or something like that so we can talk about it later. So that's always a good way to help. But yeah, it's important to have a routine. Right now it's difficult, I think, for everybody to have any kind of routine, because it's been a little hard to write right now, but I try to get it in at some point every day.
Yeah. I have found that this whole, pandemic has just totally sucked up my creativity. I trying to write the stuff that I feel like I would want to perform is just about impossible, because I don't see an end to it. And I don't know if it's even worth it. So, I'm like you, I'm forcing myself, and it's mostly I make myself read the news and do one-liners from the news and stuff like that.
That's good.
And then I've also developed a character that I do Zoom mics, and I do the character instead of myself. It's Eugene from Smyrna, and he's a conspiracy theorist. And so that's at least keeps my brain working, but it's nothing I'm ever going to do anything with. It's never going to amount to anything. But I have found a few things. I've decided to go a little bit back further into my relationship with my wife and the kids, and go back even to when I was a kid, and I found some material there. I am going to work that through, but right now it's just one sentence on a page in a notebook. So
yeah. It's, and the things that I'll be writing about now, obviously you write about the pandemic and stuff like that. And hopefully whenever it ends, I don't know how much I'm going to want to even go near this material again.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's rough for everybody, but I just feel like comics have a special despair.
Yeah, I know. We're very delicate.
Yeah.
We're very sensitive. We can't take this kind of pressure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Do you do a little bit of crowd work in every set?
I like to. I feel like it helps me to be more comfortable and enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm.
I think and I feel like it's easier to connect with people when you do a little talking, not necessarily to everybody that I've talked to, but I feel like you get an idea of the type of people that are in the room or even just how they respond to talking to them. Some crowds just love when you talk to them. And then some crowds are just like, man, just talk, do your material, whatever, stuff like that. But I definitely, which makes this whole doing a comedy online, especially without a crowd, it makes it just very difficult.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
To get no response.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I definitely, I don't think in a very long time, I don't think I've done any shows where I haven't done some kind of crowd work, just can't help it.
You've got a set where it's about 3 minutes of crowd work, and I just felt like it was very easy. It was non-confrontational, and I think it lent itself to bringing the crowd into your story. So I thought you did it very well. Thank you. You're different than Ian Bagg. He was one of my guests, and I like him for different reasons. And his is almost a Don Rickles type thing, and he's going after him.
Oh, okay, all right. I have my moments where I got to do that myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to.
Thinking about that and crowds. Obviously, you get crowds tend to be almost like an individual. Like they all become one, and they're either on your side or they're not on your side, or you got to win them over. I'm sure you've been in these situations. When you're in that situation, first of all, when they are just not responding, do you have any tricks that you do to change that? Do you actually have a backup set of jokes that you go to that are a sure thing? What do you do when things like that happen? That's a good question. If they are just not responding, it's real difficult to not just get super angry sometimes and just be like, what is wrong with you people? Like, why did you come to a comedy show when you clearly don't want to laugh? But that just drives me crazy. But if I'm not getting a response, I have some material that is stronger than some other, stuff that I know that's pretty solid enough that I know it's gonna work for the most part. So I will go to some of that, and then there's some responses that you kind of just build up along the way for that situation that I will go to almost automatically, just in my head. Okay, these people hate me. This is what I talk about now, because they are not having it, and just automatically switch over. Okay, go to this. But it's hard to say. Sometimes if they are not liking you just gotta push through and hope that some things stick. Or sometimes even if it doesn't seem like a majority of the crowd likes you, there's still some people that you can see that are enjoying themselves. And if I see some people, I'll play to them. I'll talk to them. So at least somebody's having a good time. Right. And it brings me a little bit of happiness to know that somebody's laughing. So,
I'll do that. And then the rest of the people can just, whatever, amuse themselves. I don't know.
Everything I've watched that you've done looks pretty clean. Do you stay pretty clean most of the time?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of dirty material. Occasionally I swear sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think I swear more off stage than on stage.
Yeah.
Filthy sailor off stage.
Yeah. Same.
But just don't. Yeah. It just doesn't come out. I don't do a lot of jokes about, graphic. I don't know. Yeah. Just not I don't know. Just never turned out to be dirty.
And what was it always that way? Did you ever have dirtier material, or did you swear more on stage and took it out, or did you just pretty much stay the course?
I think I've always been about the same level of dirtiness, which is not very, but I've always been, like in the class, we were taught that you limit yourself when you're dirty. Yeah. You're not going to get a lot of opportunities, as many opportunities. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I find that it can sometimes be easier for comics that are dirty, because sometimes that's just all a crowd wants, to dirty, real raunchy and stuff like that. Sometimes that's what they are looking for. And so I find it's almost more challenging to not be dirty, even though it's not challenging in the sense of it's hard for me to stay clean, but it's more challenging to get laughs, I think, without going to being real dirty or stuff like that. Yeah.
And I respect that. I've got the same type of attitude. And the funny thing is, people, I guess friends tend to judge you a little bit because, like you, I swear a lot off stage, and my phone, when I text, if I type the letter F in, it goes straight to fuck. It just knows, because
I can't get there. I'm always getting ducking. I just, I'm like, I swear I'm swearing a lot. I don't know, when are you going to figure out I don't ever say ducking?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It'll fix itself, trust me, after a few years. But the funny thing is, I tend to get people say, why don't you be more on stage like you are in real life, and pepper that with the language and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, I tried it, and I put F-bombs in and stuff like that, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it. And it just, I got a response, and some bits maybe landed a little bit better when I put it in there, but like you, I don't feel like I'm being the comic I want to be when I'm up there swearing the whole time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like the point of comedy, I think, or even the things that I find even funnier is like super well-placed words. Yeah. Specific words. And when you do easy profanity, whatever, it's too easy. You get something like, I love when you find the perfect word for something. It's not. So I think it takes more thought. I like it better itself.
Your pacing is very natural, and your pauses are like exactly as long as they need to be. How long did it take you to hone that to where you're not just going up and puking out everything at 100 miles an hour? Did you actually get some guidance on that, or did you just figure it out yourself by taping yourself or whatever?
I still don't always have the timing. Sometimes especially when you write something new, you have to practice it and get the timing out. And also, it's an ongoing, not necessarily a struggle, but like an ongoing learning process of being able to put something out there, and if you don't get the laugh right away, still being able to sit and wait I feel like it's in a lot of cases a sign of a real pro. Yeah, they can just sit and let there be silence without wanting to fill it with something. Yeah. And So I think that I always like to work on that. But sometimes, yeah, I'll puke it right out.
Yeah.
Just, oh my God, I gotta get through this.
Yeah.
You know, oh my God, you people are not laughing fast enough. You know, just, you know. So.
I remember I did one 7-minute set in 5 minutes, and I'm like, this has always been 7 minutes. What did I do? And yeah, fortunately, I recorded it, and I left a tag out, and I talked way too fast. And
yeah, when you're nervous, you just burn through.
Yeah, stepping on the laughter. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
You should be ticketed for that. Yeah.
Yes. I have a friend that I would do a lot of shows with, and in the city, and he would be like, "You stepped on it. You stepped on the laughs. Why didn't you wait? You could have been laughing for a long time." I'm like, I couldn't stop myself.
Yeah. And some rooms it's really hard because first of all, you can't see the audience, and if your adrenaline's up and you're not paying as much attention as you should, and you're not breathing and all the things that you need to practice, then man, you can just run right through it, step on the laughs, and nobody remembers you because they remember they laughed, but they don't remember why. And
exactly.
That's not good for anybody.
And like in the theater shows, I haven't done a lot of those, but I've always heard that it's especially difficult because you really have to wait for it to get out there to the farther reaches. So your timing is like changes drastically in those situations. You really have to say it and just be like, sit there and wait till it gets all the way back to the back seats. So
yeah, I imagine that's the way sound travels. Could be a half a second before it gets back there.
And that feels like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Do you feel like if you hadn't met John and had a compadre during all this, do you feel like that made things easier for you and you felt more at ease doing comedy and traveling and all that?
Absolutely, yeah. He's a great guy. First off, he's a great comic, obviously. He's hilarious. He's a natural. And he's a great guy, just in general. He's been headlining on the road for a while, and he has been nice enough to take me on to feature for him. So I've gotten to go to a lot more places that I don't think I ever would have gone to and even been seen, which is amazing. I owe him a lot for that, for sure. And also, besides that, we really enjoy each other's company. We have a great time on the road. I even just, because we talk through all of this, not just being able to do the comedy shows, but we just miss road trips. Yeah. Just getting out, and we like to go get Impossible Burgers. Have you ever had the Impossible Burger?
Yeah, my wife and I, we really like them. We know that they're not all that good for you, but
they're not perfect.
Yeah, but it's still not meat, and it's and they're really good. yeah,
they taste amazing. So we make a point of, when we go out on the road, I always, because I'm severely OCD, I try to find when I know where we're going and the direction we're going, the roads and stuff like that. I look online on their website and try to find places that have Impossible Burgers. Yeah. So we include them in our road trips, and that's fabulous. That's a great part of it too. Yeah. And we also like to watch and see cows on the sides of the roads. Always, especially when we're heading out to the Midwest. To see the cows. Always looking for them.
What's the difference between Midwest audiences and audiences on the coast?
There's so much. Yeah. But at the same time, I like them both. I like them. I enjoy doing shows in New York because I feel like it keeps me quick, keeps my mind going. But I enjoy doing shows out, like we've done some shows out in Ohio and Michigan and stuff like that. And I like doing shows for those people because I feel like I don't know much about them. They don't know much about me. And I feel like it's a really great opportunity to get to know them and to show them a little bit about me, because they may not know somebody, they may not know, they may not know a lesbian. And I could be somebody that's a non-threatening lesbian. I don't know. Some of those lesbians can be very threatening, but I think it's great. It's a great experience to see different lifestyles and different people.
I talked to Matt Brown. He's a comic in Chicago, and he's a gay man. And he said one of the things about the Midwest shows, and he goes out to the sticks and he'll do a VFW or whatever. And the funny thing is that people like me are so proud of themselves for laughing at his humor. And I asked him, I said, do you feel like you're changing anybody's minds by doing that? And he felt like in some cases you do. Do you feel that?
I do. I like to hope so. I feel like some of the times I meet people after the show and they'll tell me, a lot of times I get, my neighbor's daughter just married a woman. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. Congratulations to your neighbor's daughter. But I feel like, I like to think I'm bringing a little bit of experience or something different, some diversity to their lives. And hopefully it's in a positive way, because there's plenty of negativity out there especially about being gay. There's definitely still a lot of homophobia. So I feel if I can get out there and show people I'm not some kind of demon.
Yeah.
It's, that's, like I said, it's one of the reasons I enjoy doing shows out where I've never been before or don't ever really find myself wanting to go or planning to go. Yeah. So it's nice.
That's great. And when you think about the way that the more, I want to say that like New York audiences are more savvy, do you feel like it's harder to make them laugh because they are?
Yeah, I think that's what the thing I like about it is. It keeps me on my toes. It keeps me like, I can't just do easy laughs. Sometimes they can be really rough. And it's just, no, you really have to be different. You can't do any kind of hacky stuff. It's got to be different. And it's always changing too. It's always evolving. There's so many different kinds of comedy. There's alt comedy now, and it's just, where it's not even funny.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what, sometimes I'm just like, I am not going to get this sometimes. And that's fine. But I think it definitely keeps me on my toes. It keeps me thinking, keeps my mind going and stuff like that. So I like it.
When I talk to you and when I watch the different videos, you don't have the stereotypical New Jersey accent. You sound more like you came from Indiana. Is that something that you practiced, or are you just doing your own voice?
No. That's just, no, I don't know what what is, aside from saying New Jersey, that's the only thing I know. I guess, no, I don't know a lot of people that have the New Jersey accent. But what is it that's...
It's almost like, I would say it's almost a different emphasis on syllables, like when de Blasio talks. He's from the East Coast.
Yeah, that's true.
but there's also the Italian part that's in there too. And I've always been fascinated with accents because I used to spend a lot of time in the South, and it's just interesting to hear different accents. And then you find somebody that comes from a particular area and they don't sound anything like you would expect.
I think, in thinking about it now, maybe like the East Coast or even Jersey or New York or whatever, there it may be more of an attitude that's more, I don't know, maybe more of a self-confidence or maybe a stronger voice. And I don't think I come across as super confident or strong. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, a Midwesterner would say, "Oh, come on," and somebody from Jersey would say, "Come on." It's a little bit different emphasis. Yeah, so I found that interesting. Everything I've watched that I saw online, I think everything you had long sleeves on, and you've got quite a bit of ink. Is that something you do purposefully so you don't alienate part of the audience, or how do you feel about that?
In the beginning, I guess it was more purposeful in the beginning because I didn't want to distract. And sometimes now I find it is distracting for people. I find people are not, I can tell when people are listening to me and when they're just looking at my arms or something like that, you know. And also not necessarily on purpose, but the covering the long sleeves is, I like to have some step up from regular clothes. Yeah. So I like to wear a jacket or a long sleeve shirt, a button down shirt or something like that. But I still sometimes do, have short sleeves on and stuff like that. But I've always heard you don't want to wear stuff that's too distracting. Right. Yeah. Because you want people to, concentrate on what you're saying and not what you're wearing or what you look like, stuff like that. But
what was Gotham thinking when they put that backdrop up that you mentioned?
I don't know. It scared the crap out of me. I was just like, oh, this looks like a psychotic test pattern, I think is what I was saying. And it was quite a look.
Everybody knows the rules. It's got to be red. It should be brick, but if not, it should be red, and never blue is not a laughter color. I just, when I saw that before you even mentioned it, I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it was a bit rough.
Yeah. Thinking about, this is something I ask everybody. What 3 things do you know now that you wish you would have known when you started comedy?
3 things that I know. That it's important to know your worth. To know, like at the beginning, I would take anything I could get, whether it was paid or not paid or crazy distances for very little money or no money, or shows that I know I was not going to do. Like finding out the audience is it's at a church. And knowing these people are not going to necessarily enjoy this show. And I'm not going to enjoy doing it because they are going to hate me and I'm going to hate them. And we're all just going to have a horrible evening. So to know when to turn something down or to know that I am good enough to get paid a certain amount, or I wish I knew that more. It's okay to turn things down. That's like a huge thing right there. It's okay. If it doesn't look like it's a good idea, you can turn it down. There's going to be something else. Something else will happen. That also, I guess it's not bad to ask people or approach people, not just wait for bookers or clubs to notice you. It's not bad to say, hey, I've been performing. I've talked to other people at the club. I've enjoyed it. I've done this and I'd like to maybe see if you would consider putting me on your roster or something like that. That's something that I wish I did more of, because I probably would have gotten out to places faster or stuff like that. But there was always the thought of, oh, I can't do that. And I don't want to overstep my bounds, or they're going to be like, what are you kidding me, or stuff like that. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
And a third thing would be, I don't know what a third thing
Hey,
is.
if you only got 2, that's okay. I won't keep you on the hook for 3. Those
Okay,
are good ones.
All right. You can expand them out to maybe make a 3-ishness in them.
Yeah. Actually knowing your worth and saying no, that's actually 2. So there you go.
Okay, great. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Then I made it.
Yeah. So last thing, do you feel like doing your stand-up, do you feel like that is something that's the end game for you, or do you have aspirations of doing anything else?
I enjoy, a lot of people, they do have, I want to be a talk show host, or I want to, but I would be okay with just doing stand-ups, doing shows, traveling, doing shows on the road, doing shows in the city. I've been lucky enough to perform for the troops overseas. And that is one of the greatest experiences I think I've had in comedy, to be able to perform for them. So I don't have a bigger goal really than what I am, just to get better and to go to more places and get out there more. That's it.
You got to respect that. And there's very few out there that have that same attitude.
Some people are probably like, that's pretty sad.
Yeah. Hey, it's your life, and the way, if that's what makes you happy, that's all you need. I was talking to you about the Jesselneck interview that I was listening to, and he doesn't have any aspirations beyond doing stand-up. He says he doesn't want to be on TV, he doesn't want to be a talk show host. Same thing. He doesn't want any of that. And
that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you? Do you have thoughts on anything?
Actually, I do. The funny thing is I didn't start until I was 50, and I'm 56 now. And I didn't really get serious about it until like right before the pandemic hit. And I really buckled down and was traveling to go to different mics and stuff like that, and entered a comedy contest. And I was really feeling like I was getting good. And so right now I'm not even thinking about that. I'm putting everything into the podcast and reaching out to people and talking to people like you, because I feel like what I put out on this is going to be bigger than my goals, and it's going to give information to up-and-coming comics, and also people who just want to know what comedy's like, what the life is like, and all that kind of stuff. So this is what I'm putting all my effort into right now, besides writing shitty one-liners,
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Just spending those brief moments.
Yeah. It's funny though, where I'm getting to that point. I've done the same job, and it's a fairly professional job for 15 years now. And I started thinking about, I've got one kid that lives in Huntsville, Alabama, and my daughter's out in Falls Church, Virginia, and 9 hours one way and 10 hours the other way driving. And so my wife and I are thinking, we don't really want to be here, and we'd like an escape plan. And I really was hoping that stand-up might be an escape plan. I didn't want to be a star or anything, but if I could be a feature or something like that, and, or even an MC or something, like, I would love it. But, you never know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe before
honestly,
I die,
Yeah, people make a perfectly good living on the road.
Yeah,
you never know. Who knows?
So for people who stuck through the entire interview, let's remind them again how they can find you on the web.
Okay, upstreamcomedy.com is my website, also known as joannefilan.com. And then on Twitter, Instagram, it's at Joanne Filan, and Facebook, Joanne Filan Comedy.
Okay. Great. I've really enjoyed the stuff I've seen, and this talk was fantastic. You're a great guest, and I didn't have to talk a lot, so we've done the goal. So
Thank you.